Like, go learn from the best commercial real estate agent in our town. Get his coffees, get his papers, get whatever, because as long as you're helpful to him, you will listen to the conversations he's having. And that is the best education you can get.
Big it up, big it up. Yep. Give him my
Welcome to Let's Talk Real with Mel. We are here with Erica Wolfe of the Wolfe Team, Jupiter, Florida.
Yes, thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you for being here. Thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about your real estate team and kind of the makeup,
Okay, my little elevator pitch, my spiel. All right, so I am on my 15th year in real estate. I've had a team for the past 5 years now, and we are workaholics. We're a small, mighty team. We're probably overstaffed more than agents, so we're really working on recruiting right now, other agents, but all of us are Jupiter natives too. So I think that's something like unique in our area. A lot of people can't really say they're natives, so we've, over the years just watched what Jupiter's developed into. We run a lot of digital ads, farming with mailers, and live in paradise and just try to show off the lifestyle.
Yeah, Jupiter's nice. It's not really a first-time home buyer market, is it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Tell us a little bit for those that don't know.
So typically when you buy your first home, mommy and daddy help. So
Right. This is not that.
So that is typically what happens a lot of times, but it used to be, but especially since the pandemic, we had so many people move from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area down to our area. And so we had an influx of cash transactions. So what's crazy is typically we used to be around like a 40% 40% cash transactions. In the past 2 years, we went up to 85% cash.
Wow. Okay. So it's bringing in, and what's the average price point?
So the average price point is 1.5.
Okay. So definitely not first-time home buyer activity. So it's more retirees, people selling up and moving down, or do you get some vacation? Some people buy it as a second home.
Somewhat a second home, but really it's a big family area.
Okay.
So we do have like a lot of the 40, 50, 6-year-olds. We definitely still have snowbirds for sure. That's what we call when they go back and forth. We definitely have those, and we can tell because season for us is January to April because it's cold up north, and that's when they're down there. But typically those people live in either like townhouses or condos, and Jupiter doesn't have a lot of those. So you typically go south to like Singer Island. So like there's other areas that have a lot more of that.
Okay. And do you service, you and your team, you guys only Jupiter, or do you go, outside?
Go out. So we have Martin County, which is north, but we're basically northern Palm Beach County and then southern Martin County. We do stay in a little bubble just because we know every street, we know every neighborhood. We've probably been in every house. And we'd rather refer somebody out to an agent that knows that area better than us.
So specializing. You're not trying to, go 20 miles, 30 miles outside of town.
Correct.
You'd rather be a very skillful and masterful in that and know everything there is to know about you.
Yep. And it works because, we end up knowing the staff at the town, right? So if we have issues or need help with that, like we end up knowing so many more people that can help us move the transaction along. If they have permitting questions, like I can just send an email and get an answer rather than, having to go down a county building department or things like that. So,
is there new construction too, or it's mostly?
So we're in a weird phase where now basically you have to tear down a house to build new. So we're out of land, but we have a couple new developments left, but they're the last ones. Yeah. And their starting price is like 2.5 to get into those community. Yeah.
Okay.
So we represent a couple builders and we do spec homes, but we are purchasing homes in great neighborhoods that probably haven't ever been updated since the 60s, 70s, maybe a little more worn down. and tearing those down, rebuilding.
And rebuilding and selling new. Okay.
Yeah.
So how many people on the team?
We have 2 buyer's agents, and I have my assistant who just got licensed, and she's a doll. She's amazing. She's 21, and I just adore her. She works harder than all of us combined, I say.
She's hungry.
Yeah, she's hungry. And then I have my operations and marketing manager. She basically is our glue that holds everyone together. Then we have a transaction coordinator.
Okay.
And then we have a virtual assistant and an ISA.
Okay. So solid team.
Yeah.
And what is your, if you choose to share, your volume look like? Units, or I know units are less important, more so, but I know your volume because your price point is.
So, what's funny is everyone says that our team goal is units, not volume.
Okay.
I always say, don't worry about that. Just keep focusing on units. Because if you know how many deals you can handle a month, you can set your expectations on what your work life looks like versus your personal life and everything. So I like going off of units. So we should be at, I think it's either 73 or 78. I can't remember what's on the board.
Okay.
But by the time December closes, and we will be just around 58 million. Okay, so maybe it's 73 transactions and 58.
Okay.
So
that's a good amount of business. And how long have you been licensed?
Well, 15 years.
15, right.
Yeah.
And so what was it, even though you're native, I'm sure your business now looks different than your business then. What did your business look like when you first got started?
Yeah. So we were kind of talking about it earlier is, so many people look at all the things we do and they have to remind themselves that I've been in it 15 years. I didn't just start with it
2 years ago.
Yeah. You choose one thing, perfect it, and then add on to it. You know what I mean? Keep adding new strategies. So really, so I was 21 when I got licensed, had 2 children, struggle bus, whatever story, sad story we have. And I just worked my butt off. I worked in the foreclosure and short sale market because it was 2008, splitting with an attorney. So I was really transactional at that point. Mm-hmm. But Facebook was around, had just kind of came out, I think a couple of years before that. And it was always what are you doing today? So my thing would be selling a home or showing a home. That was how Facebook was used back then. And I just was telling everybody every step of my life for some reason. And people in the community, my town and friends started seeing that I was doing it. And the only reason I had business to actually be selling homes or showing homes was through an attorney that we had split everything to handle the short sales and foreclosures. But from that, I got investors and then really built up the trust because not so many people want to use a 21-year-old as a real estate agent.
No.
You
got licensed at 18, so
yeah,
I know the struggle.
Yeah, so you just start building that trust with people and they start seeing your proof of what you're doing. And then videos came out. Snapchat actually was the first one that had filters, and I just thought it was cool to have filters, and that was what made me comfortable to get on camera. And I was actually just being funny or venting or something, it wasn't anything I wanted the general public to see. But then people started messaging me on there and they're like, this is amazing. You should share this on Facebook. I was like, seriously? And I'd start sharing it. And I had one where I used 5 different filters, pretended to be different people. And I got 2 deals from that. And I was like, oh, okay.
There's something to it.
There's something to it. And I think that was around 2011-ish. And then I just doubled down on video. And it was horrible videos. I mean, when you think about the pixelated, horrible videos I was posting, of me walking around a home, the worst videos.
You remember the iFlip?
No.
The little was like the white thing you did was like a little white it was an Apple product.
Okay.
And it had a little camera, and then it had the USB, you just put it right into the computer and pull the video off. See, that might have been before your time.
Yeah, I didn't have that. I was using my phone and it was horrible. But I was just documenting every little thing I was doing.
Okay.
And that really built it. And then I started from there.
Now, were you still at this time doing this process, were you still kind of solo, doing your own transaction work, doing your own administrative work, or did you?
Oh, yeah, no, I was doing everything. I didn't have money to pay for an assistant. Now I wish I would have like 100%, you know. I think it was about 2010 I left the attorney and went with like a boutique brokerage.
Okay.
And because I felt like I had enough business now, and enough business was like 10 deals a year, but myself, you know, and like you're keeping it. But then I was just working all the time. Like I was just working all the time. And with the videos, I started getting target ads for running digital sales funnels. So in 2012 is when I took my first course, and that became the catalyst of me constantly learning. Like I was a bad student in school, but I love learning and things I actually like.
Were you not a bad student?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I was like, oh, I just didn't care about that stuff, you know? Like this stuff's interesting. So I learned how to run a funnel. And then I realized how important video is to run a funnel because of how you can retarget your audience once they see it. And we did landing pages, we did all of that. And then it's just, I became an expert at that and a master at that and started getting clients and leads.
All right, let me give the quote of the day. All right, let me get it. All right, quote of the day. In the real estate business, you learn more about people and you learn more about community issues. You learn more about life. You learn more about the impact of government, probably than any other profession that I know of. Johnny Isaacson.
I agree.
Quote of the day. All right.
So became an expert at that, and then started taking multiple other real estate courses and added in mailers, added in, you know, community content. You just like keep building all of it. And I think my passion really does lie in like the community involvement and in the marketing side of the business. And that's when I realized, okay, I can't be at conferences and I can't be behind my computer 24/7 and actually sell homes still. So I need a team.
Okay. Right. So that's, so trying to learn and grow your business.
Yeah.
And raise a family.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. It's a lot. So I started with a buyer's agent first, and she really helped me because I was such a control freak on like letting go. So we developed all of the systems together. Like I over-explained every step and made a checklist. And like the girls even laugh at me still now because of my checklist. There's so many checklists. But it was the only way that I felt like I could trust somebody else with my clients.
And you can look and see, are all the box lines checked? Okay, we're good.
Yeah. Did they do it? So that's where really then the systems came in place. But in hindsight, I should have absolutely gotten a transaction coordinator first, and then an assistant, and then buyer's agents.
If you could rewind the clock. But you worked out okay.
I'm saying this for others, you know?
So, okay, so how was it, 21, 23, 24, small children, and then trying to serve clients? How were you able to make all that work and still and still believe that it's gonna work out? I mean, making enough money and not, a lot of people quit. We know the failure rate. A lot of people quit and say, this isn't gonna work, I'll just go get a job. But being able to keep
I think like failure wasn't an option. Like what else was I gonna do?
Right. So it had to work.
Yeah.
You pushed through.
Yeah. In high school, I'd worked at a bank, and that kind of started the financial thing. And then I worked for an insurance agent, and that started a lot of the systems from there. I think I was from 18 to, probably 21, doing insurance. So
you were doing insurance sales?
I was an assistant for somebody and then moved up to sales. But yeah, I learned so much in that avenue too, and like being comfortable with talking to people. And then I looked at a settlement statement, and I'm like looking at commission. I'm like, okay, well, I'm getting salary plus $20 a policy I close. I'm like, I can make some more money doing this. And that was ultimately what led to the transition. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I just let my insurance license lapse. I still was just holding on to it because, like,
you never know.
You never know, right? And
you might need to get it back. Think about some JV opportunities.
I know. Well, now I'm like, okay, well, why did I do that?
In the future, next time we talk, it'll all be in place.
Yeah.
All right. So good. So then at some point you realized, and I guess that would be mid, I guess 25, 26, when you realized you needed some help.
Oh, well, no, really, it was like 5 years ago.
Okay, so you kept pushing solo for a while.
Yeah.
For 10 years.
I would easily work 80-hour weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that obviously that's tough on the family. Yeah, that's tough on the family.
Yeah.
And so, like when my kids would say, what's daddy's favorite thing to do? And they would always say, oh, it's work.
Well, my husband laughs and teases that my hobby is work. I mean, but this is my hobby. Like, we're at a conference right now and we're learning, and like, it does fill me up. Like, it does constantly, like, oh, I could do that, or I could implement that, or that's cool. Like, it makes you
sharper.
Yeah.
And sharpens iron.
Yeah. And I guess it is a hobby. At least we get to travel.
Yeah, we get to travel, it's a little rainy today, but usually the weather's nice. We're in a great city in Nashville.
Yeah. So I think as like for like the mother standpoint, I think because I was young and had the kids, and there was a lot going on. Like, my son had illnesses. There was a lot going on, and I don't do well in emotional settings. So what am I good at? Oh, I'm good at working. So like, something hard's going on in life, I'm like, I can work. It'll fix it all. So, I mean, really, like, if somebody wants to know how you juggle the business and kids, like, my husband was great with the kids. And I love and adore my kids, obviously. But the teenage phase is so much funner to me than, like, the younger stage. Right now, I'm, like, thriving with the kids. But it's also probably because I have balance with staff and help and, like, all of that. Yeah.
Okay.
So
do you think the kids are going to be entering the business anytime? Are you incorporating them with?
So
are they interested?
My son, I think, wants to, and I keep telling him not.
Trying to turn them on. That's the opposite of mine. I'm like, my kids don't want to. When I'm like, no, you should try it.
Yeah. So I was telling him, I was like, all right, if you really want to, I think you should go commercial. Like, have the 9 to 5. Like, commercial agents, they don't really work weekends. And they don't work evenings, and it's a lot less transactions. So I think, at least from the commercial agents I know, they have a much better work-life balance.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I think when you are saying for your kids, like, what do you want for your kids?
Yeah, and you want better, right? Yeah. You don't want to wish this 80-hour life on them.
Yeah.
Or you could wish them with the full structure and the infrastructure with the
exactly.
Get the TC and shit.
I even told him, he said, well, I can just come work for you. I'm like, oh no, honey, you're not going to come work for me first. Because like, you need to go work for somebody else, realize how somebody else tells you what to do, like, go learn from the best commercial real estate agent in our town. Go be his bitch. I hope I can kind of use it. Get his coffees, get his papers, get whatever, because as long as you're helpful to him, you will listen to the conversations he's having. And that is the best education you can get, is listening to somebody who's successful and, not being a bother to them and just getting to constantly listen to the conversations. You will level up so much quicker. So I was like, I would want you to do that for 4 to 5 years and then come open like a commercial side of the company or something, not just
yeah, that's good advice. And also, when you, especially with our children, they're going to see how it really is, as opposed to think that, mom's just being hard on me or dad's just being hard on me. No, and if anything, I'm actually being light on you, but it won't feel that way to them. They need to kind of experience it for themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's also just great advice for anybody who's trying to figure out how to level up their real estate career in general, is like, try to be as helpful. Like, do transactions where you don't get paid on. Like, not saying like, oh, I'll do all the work for you, and not like, do it with the benefit of learning. Like, say, I will do anything for you. I just want to be able to shadow you completely. And that, I think, also has been a struggle for our team in hiring is, I want my agents to shadow me or to shadow Carrie and like hear the conversations now, because Carrie was only ever trained by me. So she does it my way. She has the conversations. She's, never submitted an inspection repair request and hasn't gotten it accepted or approved. Like, I don't know agents like that, because when they go against me on the other side, I'm like, oh no.
Right, you're pushing back.
Yeah, but she gets all of them approved. Like, the way that, because we've worked so closely together and the conversations we have, like, the new agents coming to the team, I want them to realize real estate is a 60-hour work week especially if you're just starting, and be next to somebody who can teach you, because that's the quickest way to grow.
No, it is. And I think a lot of agents or even small business owners, they don't see the value in coaching, which is really what that is. They don't want to pay for it for some reason, but that is a way to get it for free.
Yeah.
And learn and get, free coaching, but they won't want to either give up a commission or take a lesser salary. They say they'll just figure it out, maybe watch some YouTube videos.
But it's the long way around.
Yeah.
It's a long way around, or people want 100% commission, and I'm like, all right, well, 100% of zero is going to be great, but I can give you 50% of a lot more, than that you could go get on your own. But people I don't think they look at the big picture until they're on the struggle bus with it. But yeah, I mean, even with, helping on transactions that don't benefit you, or going and showing for one of your teammates where you're not getting a monetary benefit for that, like your leads and brokers see that. And the next time a deal comes in, or a lead comes in that they know would close, they probably would give it to you when you're a team player and like helping others. So that's the biggest.
So it's a service mentality. That's a recurring theme.
Yeah.
Is that we see, with those who are successful like yourself, is, when they have that service mentality, they're just helping others. Therefore, my high school's mantra was men for others in my high school. So, but yeah, being of service.
Yeah.
And then, and everything comes back around.
It always comes back around.
So speaking of the struggle bus you mentioned,
okay,
share a time, and and maybe there wasn't. I'm sure your career, I'm sure everything was perfect for the last, no flaws, no trip ups. But what was a time when either it could have been a struggle in the business or a personal struggle that really, some real adversity that you had to face, and how did you overcome it?
I mean, I touched on, I think it would probably just be when my son was sick, but it was like a 2 years, super rare autoimmune disease, but like he's had half of his right lung removed. He's had bone marrow transplant, grafts, like bone grafts, rods, like all sorts of stuff. But because I was good at work, not so good at dealing with that emotional battle, I did double down on work. And I think now I regret probably working as much, but also knowing like, well, I have to still provide for my family and everything, and handle that. But that was probably the toughest because, I was running from Jupiter to Miami is 2 hours. So I was like constantly commuting back and forth and trying to pretend everything was okay. And I'm like, try to pretend like we're all good. That's probably my biggest.
Yeah, I do that. We all do that sometimes. I mean, sometimes when we're workaholics, like you and I, it is easier to just work more, and as long as you're working and then you can make some wins over here, then somehow we justify that it's better on the other side. But you're right. We all have some regret when we look back and maybe would have done a little differently.
Probably should have done that a little better, but a
little differently. But we're here and he's healthy now and strong, and so everything's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you see your team of 6?
I need more agents, but that is internal. Well, it's not very internal because I talk about it all the time. It's something I'm really struggling with because I know we do need to grow. But I also am so nervous about the culture changing inside my office. Like everyone on my team has become a good friend of mine too. So I don't want to mess that up. I want everyone to like feel like a family still in the office, but also if I don't scale, my business doesn't move forward and I'm just going to stay where I'm at. But at times I'm like, I don't know where I'm at's not that bad.
Right. But but that's those some people call it the complacency W.
Yes.
We all face that where things are okay, or in some cases pretty good.
Yeah.
But if we're not growing, sometimes we're shrinking by default. So, but that's so, that's something I guess you'll have to wrestle with it, because the reality is the culture will change. you know, unless you're very intentional and you're bringing in, you know, one agent at a time, not like this is our next group of 5 agents that we're onboarding this month. You know, that's a quick way for the culture to change, but you can, you know, bring it in slowly and get acclimated. And that's going to be a slower process of growth.
Yeah.
But if,
so I think for us too, because of all of our systems and marketing, I really feel like we have it all together. Like I look at it and I said to you, I don't want to add anything new. Like in 2023, I really feel like we do such a good job at what we do. We have so many inbound leads. I don't pay for Zillow. I don't pay for Realtor. Like the only thing I pay for are my mailers and my digital farming ads. And, you know, the agents on your team at certain points, they're content and fine with where they're at. So we have all these inbound opportunities that, one, I do truly feel like we're the best agents in our area. So like I want clients and leads and buyers and sellers to be serviced properly. Like I think they deserve that. Like these are my neighbors, right? So I always want to help everyone. However, with the amount of people we have, we're capped.
Right.
So that's where I know I have to.
Right.
I know I have to, or else, you know, it.
Yeah, because the thing is, so the way that, you know, one and approach, and the way I share with, you know, our agents is that if you truly believe that you have the best system, you have the best process, you provide the best service, then you have to do everything. You have to do everything in your power to get that client's attention, so that you can serve him or her.
Yeah.
Because then if not, then you're doing a disservice by that client going to ABC instead of coming to the Wolfe.
Well, the amount of like, you know, horror stories you hear in real estate of how people were treated, or you can even see online when somebody asks for a real estate recommendation, and you get the keyboard warrior saying, yeah, just do it yourself. You know,
Right.
I don't blame people when they're upset about it. They just had a bad experience, right? They had a bad agent. And I don't want that to be the industry reputation. I don't want my neighbors to have a bad experience.
You don't want to have to go to the next aisle when you see them in the grocery store. Oh, well, there's Mr. Smith.
No, so we try to, you know, that's just part of the struggle with the growth. And I just know it needs to happen, aside from my coach telling me every day of my life that.
Okay, so we know. So we know it's happening. So what would that look like? Would it look like 2 more agents? 10 more?
I probably
can Jupiter support?
Oh yeah, we genuinely probably need to be around 8 to 10 sales agents in my office to not have the missed opportunities and the missed, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. So we know the horror stories. We've heard several of them. Share a real story that you had, either that you experienced. Either it could be a client story or, you know, something that like a crazy story that you had with a client.
Okay, like a bad one?
Yeah, probably that would be, something that hopefully didn't end bad, but if it did, then that's the story. You got a lot of them. You're trying to pick it.
Well, yeah, you know, and you always think like you'll never forget about it. Like it was so bad, and then you kind of also...
You force it out of your memory.
Yeah. I think the biggest one was from 2021 was a lawsuit that one of my clients was getting sued by his buyer. And on our team, like I would never represent a seller and a buyer. Dual agency is allowed in our area. But like I would always make somebody on my team. Even if they called me directly, even if they came in the open house, like I want there to be that clear line.
So they have some representation.
So they used our buyer's agent, and my seller couldn't have been a nicer human being. The guy got his inspection, said everything was fine, totally fine, and moved on. And then he ends up suing the seller for like $100,000, and then starts threatening us. And just like when I say threatening, it's a man threatening an office full of girls. And we're like, okay. And he lives in our neighborhood, and now he's like threatening all the neighbors and stuff. And he's from up north. And I'm like, how the hell did I sell to a monster? Right. So I think that lately has been my worst experience. I'm just like, I wish I could
undo the transaction.
Well, I wouldn't have known too, because it was like right before the pandemic started, and just like it was not great timing. And, the seller needed to sell, and, it was an offer. And I just wish, especially because it's in my neighborhood, I wish I would have known that he was crazy.
Right. Well, we never know when people there's no sign that says crazy.
No, I just wish there was a little bit of, I don't know. But out of all the transactions, if only one ended up being like that bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. Out of hundreds of transactions. What do you like to do outside of, what do you guys do outside of real estate? When you're not, your other hobbies, what are your other hobbies?
Probably boating. Yeah. Like
boating.
We went to the Bahamas 4 times or 6 times. I don't know, this summer.
When you just ride on over?
Yeah, it's an 1.5-hour boat ride.
Nice.
Yeah. Service kind of sucks over there. But I grew up doing that. So you just, everybody on the island, and it's great.
Okay. Yeah. What was that like? You growing up, boating, just.
Yeah, I don't know. So we have a lot of engineers in our area because we have a couple different companies that have like a lot of engineers that work for them. So that's really what started Jupiter. The boom in the 80s was these 2 companies moved their headquarters out there. And so my dad was an engineer, and the way they did business was he took friends fishing and stuff. And so he had lots of boats. And then we started the Bahamas thing. I mean, I don't ever remember not spending the summer over there. And sometimes if he had to fly back and then fly back to Jupiter and then fly back, he'd leave his boat and leave us and the family. And that's what we did. My mom was a teacher, so she had the summers off with us. And that was life. I didn't know any different.
Sounds super cool. Wow. So let me ask you this. If I was an aspiring agent in Jupiter or surrounding areas, and you're doing amazing things online, you're getting more leads than you can handle.
Thank you.
But your service level, to maintain the excellent service level that you have with your clients, there are lost opportunities. So if I was an agent, I wanted to say, hey, I want to help. I want to help serve some of your clients and do it the Wolfe Team way.
Yeah.
Or if I was a snowbird or someone buying a vacation home or wanting to move and live in Jupiter, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
How would we reach you?
Wolfe of Real Estate, but it's Wolfe with an E at the end. So wolfeofrealestate.com. That's also my handle on all socials, but all of our information's there. And we have a huge resource library of information, content. Like, we like to be, a resource to anybody. So
the water's super blue.
It is. We have aqua water.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, this was awesome. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.